As I kind of thought about what I wanted to say today, I was reminiscing about my first connection to VBA. It was at one of the organizing meetings back in 2012 when D.H. Scarborough and Kathy Georgian were organizing this thing. I really wasn't involved in the town other than being a member of the Rotary Club. I just remember how pissed off they were that the Tyson's Chamber, or the formerly Vienna Chamber, had moved to Tyson's, and they were just indignant, and they were spitting nails, and it was really inspirational. Because I feel like if you're not outraged about something, you're just not paying attention, and they were outraged, and it was awesome, and it really gave me an impression of like how much at least some people cared about Vienna, how deeply they cared about it. It just made an impression on me, and up to that time I really hadn't been involved, or I had a business in Vienna, but I wasn't particularly engaged, and it was great. And then at that meeting, after the meeting ended, I met Carol Wolfin for the first time. She happened to be sitting close to where I was sitting, and I think I said something to her kind of like, this is just a big waste of time, right? This kind of networking, this sort of thing, because I just didn't get it. And she said, no, you know, when other business owners get to know you and your business, it really makes a difference. And I have found that in spades in VBA. And I'm very thankful for Kathy and DH for starting this thing, and for Carol to kicking me in the head and saying, like, no, this is how it works. It really helps when you network. I just want to encourage all of our members to just always come here and get to know people, shake people's hands, get to be known. Take a leadership role in the organization if you want to be on the board or one of our committees, because it really will benefit your business. And I think that's really the magic of getting something out of an organization like this. And the lead share group in particular, I think, is a great way to do that. A big step we took this year was to kind of fully compensate Peggy, which really was a big step because you know, we started this organization on a shoestring, and we've been funding it along, and we sort of live and die by how Oktoberfest does. And thankfully, for a few years, Oktoberfest has done well, and we think we could take this step. So, and I just see it as a big benefit to our members, just that we have Peggy as a full-time person that you can connect with to find out what's going on in the town, or if you need to meet somebody, or you don't know how to do something. I think Peggy James is probably member benefit number one for our members. And unfortunately for me, yeah, please. You know, my vision of VBA has always been that we're just a group of business owners who got together and decided to pool a little bit of our money into a common pool to be able to pay for things that we can't do individually. And I think paying someone like Peggy to run things is a great example of that. But it's also as a way to give back to the community. And when people ask, you know, why should I join the VBA? I always think like part of that reason is this is a way that the business community really does give back. Oktoberfest is a great event for the town. We support Halloween Parade and many other things. So I ask people to always kind of keep that in mind and talk that up, because it's an important part of who we are. How are we doing? I think because this speech is called the State of the VBA, I think we're doing great, in short. We have a strong membership. We have a great board of directors. We are financially sound. We also are partnering in our minds with our new economic development person, Natalie Monkow. We met as a board with Natalie, and we had a great conversation. We're excited about what she's doing and having her on board. So we plan to work as closely as possible with her. And then finally, when we did something new this year, which was when we thought the town council was maybe headed in a direction that wasn't what we wanted. I think for the first time we kind of spoke up about that and tried to engage the business community to take a look at a vote that was happening concerning a rescission of a MAC decision. And that was a departure for us, because we had previously really been about mostly networking, but that was an issue we thought was not good for the town, and we thought was not in the interest of any of our businesses to see the town go forward with that. And fortunately, it did not go forward. And I think a lot of that was due to so many of the members of the business community stepping forward and going to that meeting and offering a perspective that just was not being heard, which was a discomfort with that issue. So I think it was a good example of how the business community can and needs to engage when something like that comes up. And I guess that is the overall theme that I want to leave you with today. I think the town of Vienna for years has been very well managed, and we've all benefited from that. And Lori, for the last, I think it's 6 years, that is in no small part due to your leadership. And I think we all owe you a debt of gratitude, and I just want to recognize you. But I think the business community now needs to pay attention, and I think a lot of us don't pay attention as much as we might need to. I know, like, when we're headed into work as small business owners, we're thinking about our great visions and what we're going to do, and then you get to work and you end up spending the day dealing with a toilet that's overflowing or something. It's just part of being in it. I kind of think that's how you know you have a small business, when you do those two things. But I think the council for years has represented 7 independent, diverse minds, and the town has benefited from that. It's not that they all have to agree. It's just that they're coming from different viewpoints. I don't know if you're following it, but the way it looks to me, there's a few things to be concerned about in terms of where the council is headed now. And the council exists really to make decisions. That's what it does. So I look at everything as like, well, is this going to make the council make better decisions, or will this make worse decisions? For various reasons, there's a lot of institutional knowledge walking out the door this year and starting last year in the election. If I did the calculation right, I think this year with the election, there will be 5 of the council members will be 1 year or less on the council. If that's almost, I think, any scenario you're left with. If I have that wrong, it's only off by 1. Does that sound right? And institutional knowledge, I think, is very important in this kind of thing. There are staff who can tell you sort of what to think, but you need people who've kind of been through these decisions before and seen what happens to really have a sense of, like, well, which staff should I really listen to hard? Who really knows what's going to happen? It's about predicting the future and what's going to happen and what's going to be best. So there's just a concern about institutional knowledge leaving. There'll be less of it, I think, on board. There's also a trend, I don't know if you're aware of this, but because the MAC became contentious, there are groups that have kind of put together a slate of candidates who all come with a similar agenda. And I don't want to comment on whether that agenda is good or bad, because personally, I think, like many of you, I don't know how to evaluate a development in terms of the future, whether it's good or bad. I just believe that development is good and needs to be given a lot of attention. We are in a increasingly competitive environment with other towns that have kind of upgraded their game. Tyson's is going all the time, Falls Church, Reston, Mosaic certainly. So we just need to pay attention. And while all of this is happening, it feels to me like the business community is not as engaged as it could be and it should be. What I want to do is encourage you today to pay attention, even if you don't live in the town. Because like me, we live in Oakton, we're not voters, but we can pay attention, we can talk to council members, we can comment, we can support candidates that we think have the right vision, and we can certainly encourage our customers and friends and neighbors, whatever, to go and vote if they're eligible to vote. And I think it's very important that we do that, because otherwise we will just live with whatever result comes about. And any town like this needs to be well managed, and there's a scenario here where we may be less well managed in the future, in my opinion. So that is just my opinion. And part of what I wanted to do today with some of the time we have, or with all the time we have left, is engage you a little bit, just to find out where you are, because I think part of you helping the VBA is to speak to the board, speak as individuals, or I ask you now if you have a thought about the election or what's happening in the town. I'd like to ask you to raise your hand and offer up a comment. You may disagree with something I said. I welcome hearing it. please, let's all of us start paying attention more and guide this and help the town, I think, reach a kind of a common view on what we want Vienna to be in the future. I think that would be the best thing we could deliver. So with that, I will say thank you for listening to me. And there we go.